it was a Blackfeet chief named Two Guns White Calf that inspired this logo for the Redskins team. Are we erasing him by keeping it on, or are we erasing him by taking it off? Hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel, where I'm talking about American identity and family stories. And I started my journey and this YouTube channel almost 2 years ago, looking into my family's own hidden history in Louisiana and Italy too, and a lot of other places. But when I was fresh out of college, I joined Teach for America, and I wanted to teach on the Dene Reservation, the Navajo Reservation in New Mexico. And I was so excited that I was able to do that. It was such a long process, and I was so honored to be able to fulfill that dream of going there. And when I was there, well, I have a lot of stories for you. I was also, I coached the girls volleyball team with another teacher at the school, and we traveled all around New Mexico, going to a lot of the other Navajo schools in the area. And one thing that always surprised me is I would see the parents and aunties and brothers and stuff coming to the game, and a lot of times they would be wearing Redskins jackets or Braves hats, and all of the logos that are now canceled, they were wearing them. Definitely eye-opening to go to, I think, the largest native reservation in the country and see people embracing these logos that you would have thought they would have really not been happy with. But an article just came out that kind of underscores that exact experience. The team that was the Redskins, now they're the Commanders, are facing a lawsuit because the Native American Guardian Association, which comes out of North Dakota, they're suing the Commanders for the name change. Like, they want the Redskins name back. And I guess the problem is that when the discussion was kind of up about changing the name, they had asked to meet with the team first before any changes were made, and they weren't given an opportunity. And the name was changed to the Commanders. The owner of the team in the 30s, his name was George Preston Marshall. He actually had a lot of the players put paint all over their face, and they would wear regalia, and coaches would sometimes wear feathers on the sidelines. Actual logo was designed by a Blackfeet man from Montana, and it was based a little bit, it was a composite of a lot of different chiefs, but really it was a Blackfeet chief named Two Guns White Calf that inspired this logo for the Redskins team. The man who did it, his name was Walter Wetzel, and they called him Blackie. And he was born near Cut Bank Creek on the Blackfeet Reservation. And he had actually proposed designing the helmet for the team. It was his idea. And so his grandson is named Bill Wetzel, and he is also a member of the Blackfeet Nation. And he wanted to kind of speak on what his grandfather did. He said, quote, "My grandfather was really proud of being indigenous. He accomplished a great many things, and at his core, he was a good, honest man. And it always really bothered me that the association with the logo with his name has been conflated with a racial slur. He was much more than that. He was a Blackfeet tribal chairman. He was president of the National Congress of American Indians, and he spent his life working to advance civil rights." So just pausing there, it's interesting that this man who is doing all of this to advance civil rights, and it's his idea to say, hey, let's put this chief on the logo for the NFL helmet. His grandson goes on to say, among his greatest accomplishments are his pioneering work in job training and housing program, which impacted not only indigenous people, but the populace at large. Now, he is saying how differently we view things now. He goes on to say, I liken it to the way Martin Luther King Jr. used the word Negro. It was acceptable to do that then, but it's certainly not something we do now. I don't know if that's true. And I don't think anybody in their right mind would think MLK Jr. meant to harm his own people in any way. Times change. The team name and logo will change, and it's the right thing to do. People will miss it, but we will all be fine. And as for my grandfather's legacy, he's much more than just a logo. So I think this is super interesting because his grandson is saying, hey, my grandfather, he did this out of a love for his nation, out of a love for the indigenous people that he was serving, and he thought this was an important part of that legacy. But now NAGA is saying that the Commanders ignored their demands to discuss the team name. And it's interesting because I know it's a super polarizing issue for a lot of people from all backgrounds. But I think that if the National Americans Guardians Association, like if they want to at least sit down and talk with you about the name change. It seems weird to change the name without sitting down talking with them. They're like saying like, we're doing this for your own good, like, but we don't need to hear your input on it. That rubs me a little bit the wrong way. So in 2020, white calf, the chief on the helmet was removed due to, you know, cultural pressure, sponsorship, fan demand. So like people are saying we want this off, and the owner at the time was Dan Snyder, and in 2013 he was like, we might remove the logo, but we are never changing the name. Which obviously it has now been changed to the Commanders. There are places, though, around the country that are still using this logo. So, for instance, Red Mesa High School in Arizona uses the Redskin mascot, and they actually recently installed a new football field with the white calf Redskins logo. And I have to wonder, you know, is this a reclaiming of saying, hey, we don't want this chief erased. We want him to be front and center. And, you know, this is something that we're embracing. A man named Billy, he was a NAGA representative, and he said, quote, "The term Redskin is a very honorable term to me. I'm a Redskin warrior, and I've proved myself in battle." This is just an absolutely fascinating controversy, because I think on one hand, things are cyclical, right? You have things that were okay 100 years ago. As times change, as people start viewing the world differently, we're going to look back at things and say, oh, we don't like that anymore. Let's get rid of it. And I think sometimes that's a really good thing. But I didn't know that this was actually made from a Blackfeet tribal man based on an actual Blackfeet chief. And so I don't know. I feel like the name, I could see why people might be like, this is really offensive. Actually, I saw this meme that was kind of showing, and I'll put it up on screen, but it basically says, can you imagine? It says the Cleveland Indians, like there's the regular logo, that's okay. But then they had the Cleveland Asians, the Cleveland Africans, the Cleveland Hispanics. It's interesting if you have a reaction to one, but you know what I was thinking about too was my husband loves watching sports and basketball, and we were watching a Boston Celtics game. And I was looking at the logo of the guy, and I'm like, is that a leprechaun? Like, is that supposed to be like a little Irish man? And I was kind of digging into it, and it is supposed to be like a little Irish leprechaun. And he's there, and his face is plastered on there, and no one cares about that. And I know that part of the difference is we're talking about, well, how is a group treated in the United States overall? And even if the Irish had a hard time, it's nowhere near to what happened to the Native American people here. Like, granted, yes, that's totally accurate. But still, I mean, if we're going to say, like, we don't want anyone's faces on any helmets or on anything, maybe that should be something that we're just like across the board that's not allowed. I actually saw a really funny shirt. It was a Native American man wearing a shirt that was kind of like the Redskins logo, but it said like the Caucasians, and it had a Caucasian face on it. And it was really funny. You know, and this is very similar to when I was a little girl, butter was like really evil, and my mom didn't get butter. She would get margarine, which is now I'm like, it's so gross. But the Land O'Lakes container has like a Native American girl sitting holding butter, and I remember like that got canceled. And when I looked into it, that also was made by a Native American artist. And so it's interesting. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, follow the money. Whatever's going to make the team the most money is probably what's going to happen here. But let me know what you think about this. Should we be taking off Chief John Two Guns White Calf of the Blackfoot tribe off of these helmets? Are we erasing him by keeping it on, or are we erasing him by taking it off? Then thank you everyone who has been supporting my channel, all my beautiful Patreons and channel members. I appreciate you so much. And if you would like to do a deep dive with me about the history of Native Americans in this country getting reclassified as colored or black, I will leave that video up for you. Otherwise, we'll talk soon.